I'm David Rigsby, math professor at John Wood Community College. And as it happens, we just bought this house that's next door to us, and if you look around here, you'll see that the floor of this room is some vintage purple shag carpeting. And my wife says that it has to go. So we're going to replace that with some of this laminate flooring that we have here. So we went to town and bought a package of it. I want you to look closely at the label. And as I read this, it says that this package will cover 21.36 square feet. And so the problem that we have here is, how much of this stuff are we going to need? Is that one package going to be enough? How much are we going to need? That's the problem. Okay, today let's talk about the concept of area. Now, by definition, area is the number of squares that it takes to cover a surface. So if we look over here at our visual, we will see here that we have this surface, a rectangle, and we would like to know its area. Now again, area is the number of squares that it takes to cover that. These little squares are 1 inch by 1 inch, and so we say that they are 1 square inch. So area is always about counting squares. So let's go ahead and cover this entire surface with these squares. And now that we have the area, or this surface, completely covered, we will notice that there are 24 squares. Now we could, of course, count them all one at a time, but a quick way to count those would be to notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down the long dimension of the rectangle, and 1, 2, 3, 4 across the short dimension. So 6 times 4 is 24 squares, and consequently that tells us that the area of our rectangle is 24 square inches. Now this suggests a shortcut that we might be able to use. The question that we might ask here is, can we see a way to find out the area of this rectangle without actually putting all 24 of the tiles on there? Let's think about the minimum number of tiles that we would actually have to put on the rectangle in order to find its area. Well, in order to do that, what we would simply do is to lay one row of our tiles along the long dimension, which we often call the length, and then just lay a few more tiles across the short end of the rectangle. In fact, we can see here that there are 4 squares this way. We realize that we could go ahead and fill this out, but we really don't need to, because if we do that, we'll see that it's going to take us 6 squares to go across the length, and we can count 4 squares down the width. So even with that, we can calculate by using a math shortcut that 6 times 4 is 24. Now let's form. Now, we math types like to do everything the shortest way possible. So we can see here that if we multiply the number of tiles that it takes to cover the long dimension times the number of tiles that it takes to cover just the short dimension, we have a shortcut way of calculating the total number of tiles. We can write this in a formula. We can do it in words and then in letters. So let's take a note here that we're going to talk about the area. The area is going to be the number of tiles that it takes to make the length of the rectangle, and we're going to multiply those by the number of tiles to cover the width. Now, of course, mathematicians like things to be even shorter than that because it takes us a lot of time to write those words out. Let's simply use initials. So we could have the area, in this case, is equal to L multiplied by W. And that tells us in a very convenient form how to find the area of a rectangle. We simply multiply its length times width. Now notice that the dimensions, the length has to be measured in inches, the width has to be measured in inches. Consequently, the area is going to come out in square inches. Now, most likely you don't have these tiles lying around on your desk, and so we can simply use a ruler to get to the same place. What we'll do is to take our ruler and measure the length of our rectangle. And we can see here that the length of our rectangle is 6 inches. Then we need to go on the short dimension called the width and measure it. And we will see here that the width of the rectangle is 4 inches. So again, in our calculation, area is equal to length times width. Area is going to be 6 inches multiplied by 4 inches. And so our area is going to come out to be 24 square inches. Now we can write that in a couple of ways. This is a way, it's an abbreviation, but we math types also like to write this as inches to the second power, and we read that square inches. So we can say that the area in this case, 24 square inches. Okay, what we would like to do is to do this calculation. Now once again here, it's going to be convenient for us to use our calculator. So the first thing we're going to do is key up the 108. We're going to divide that by 21.36, and that's going to tell us our answer is 5.056179777. Now, once again here, a lot of these decimals out here are going to be fairly meaningless to us. We can see that for sure, we're going to have 5 packages, but a little more than that. Now, if your luck is anything like mine, you're going to find out that you're probably going to have to go ahead and buy the 6 packages anyway. So the 5.05 is going to have to be rounded up to a whole number of packages. And so to do this room, it's going to take us 6 packages.